Hi guys, it's been a while and I will explain the reason for that a little bit later in this video. But if you are new to this channel, welcome. I'm Kelly and I have keratoconus. I have received a corneal transplant in my right eye about a year and a half ago, and I have received corneal cross-linking in my left eye about a little less than 5 months ago. So in this video, I will be just giving an update on my progress in both eyes, what has occurred in the appointments following my cross-linking, and also just some progress in my daily life that I am working towards, given the current status of my vision. So, saying that, let me get into it. Okay, before I start in some of this information, I just want to address a couple of things. First of all, I would like to make a disclaimer that I am not a doctor, and any medical questions that you have, you should definitely ask your personal eye doctor, your ophthalmologist, your optometrist. You should ask your eye doctor those questions because I can't offer you medical advice. But what I will do is tell you what I have experienced and what I've been told by my doctor. Given this, I still highly recommend if you have a medical question that you ask your doctor, because everybody's situation with the disease is different and you might be experiencing it differently than I am. So there's that. Second of all, I would just like to address that this video will include some recollections of mine from moments where I wasn't feeling the best, where I was a little bit upset, a little bit discouraged. And in the past, I've received a little bit of flack for being open and honest with how I felt in these situations. And I just want to address this by saying I don't put this on here to make you guys feel bad, to bring you down, or to make it seem like my situation is worse than anyone else's. I know that we are all going through similar challenges, and I'm not alone in this experience, but at the same time, that's the reason why I put it there. I put it there because these are feelings that can occur with this disorder. And I want people to understand that their feelings are completely normal, that they're not alone in experiencing them, and that despite feeling these negative emotions, it's possible to work through them. So that being said, I'm sorry if I am coming across in a negative fashion during some of this video, but please be kind in the comments. I'm human just like the rest of you, and I put myself out there because I don't want a filtered, fake positive version of myself when these are real experiences, real emotions that occur during this process. Let's start out by talking about the first couple of appointments that occurred directly after my cross-linking. So I believe there was an appointment, obviously the day after. I made a video following that appointment. But after that, there was one a week later, I believe, and then one that was a month later, and then there was one that was supposed to be 3 months later, and I will talk about that in a little bit. So the 1 week appointment was actually not a very good experience for me. I saw the doctor who did my surgery, he did my transplant. He was minimally involved in the cross-linking, but that's just how it works at the facility that I go to. So, they did the eye chart on me. It was a week later following my cross-linking, and if you're unaware, it is very common for your vision to haze over after receiving corneal cross-linking. And at that point, my vision was kind of hazed over because it was a week out. And on the eye chart, I was struggling with my left eye because it was hazed over. and I continued to struggle with my right eye. And I was already frustrated with the outcome of the transplant because it had been a year later and I wasn't really able to be refracted. I hadn't been refracted since receiving the transplant. So I was visibly frustrated. And you guys can tell me in the comments if this has ever happened to you as well. But not only was I frustrated, but I could tell that my doctor was frustrated that I hadn't come further along at that point. And that got me upset because I'm someone who wants to meet the standards or above. And when he's frustrated, I feel like I've done wrong. Like, oh no, what have I done to make my transplant not be as effective as it should be? Which is totally bogus. That's not how it works. Don't rub your eyes or anything. Follow the precautions and the procedures. But I didn't do anything wrong to make it so I wasn't able to be refracted. But I felt that way in that moment. So I got all teary-eyed in the appointment, which is always super embarrassing for me, and it was just not a good experience. I went home kind of unhappy with that, and then just waited around until the 1-month follow-up appointment. My vision was still hazy for a few weeks. It might have been longer than that, but I went into a follow-up appointment. There are several different doctors who have seen me through this process, and luckily, one of the doctors who I really like was seeing me that day, and it was a quick in and out appointment. She said that it was completely normal and that things would be in tip-top shape in no time, and I was so happy to hear that. She really put me at ease, and I was ready to go to the next appointment after that. So those were my first 2 appointments following the transplant. Really, my vision wasn't really, I don't think they even tried to refract my vision on the 1-month follow-up appointment. But the difference in how the staff interacted with me and how the doctors interacted with me made a huge difference in how I felt in these appointments. That's why I highly recommend when you are finding a doctor or an optometrist to get your contacts to talk you through the treatment process and your options, find someone you like. I don't dislike the doctor who has done my transplant. I think he's really good. He's really great at what he does. But you will be seeing these people over and over again, and they can affect the way you feel. So, those are my first 2 appointments. Now I will get into my 3-month follow-up appointment and some of the reasons why these videos have been so delayed. So, we had arranged a 3-month follow-up appointment either at 3 months or just a little bit after 3 months. And for some reason, the eye doctor office that I go to had to reschedule. Kind of last minute, they had to reschedule. And due to scheduling conflicts, I guess that the next appointment that was available was another few weeks later. So I had to wait around nearly a month for my next appointment. And unfortunately for that next appointment, my dad and I overslept and were unable to make it to said appointment. So that is part of the reason why these videos have been delayed. Another obvious reason is that I have been in graduate school and I've been highly focused on my graduate studies. Luckily, now that it is summer, I've completed my first semester. I will be able to follow up with more videos provided there's information to relay to you. And that's another part of it as well, is just I haven't had very much information to give you. There haven't been too many changes until a doctor could check me out and give me new information. So, I'm sorry for the delay, and I hope that this video can be helpful for you now. So, this past appointment I went to this past week was supposed to be my 3-month follow-up appointment. It ended up being about 5 months later. The woman who did the general test, basically the way my eye doctor works is you go in, you have I'm not going to know the correct terms to be honest, you have an assistant who does some of the eye tests. For me, I had the topography image taken, and there was another image taken that I don't really know what the machine did. I only know the second one because I asked. So they did that. She also did the eye chart with me without my glasses and with my glasses, but they didn't try refraction at that point. So she did a eye examination, a general assessment, and then we waited for the doctor that saw me. So for the doctor that saw me, she is very to the point, which actually I don't mind. She wasn't cold, but she was to the point. So I did the refraction in my left eye first because that was the one I was really there to check out. And she was able to refract that eye, my cross-linked eye, to 20/20 vision. So that's great. That means with glasses, I can get to 20/20 vision in my left eye. So she did that, and then I had to say, hey, wait, I haven't been able to be refracted in my right eye. Can we try and get somewhere with that? And she's like, oh yeah, no problem. So she went and did the refraction with my right eye, but I was still having some trouble. Like the middle of the screen was blurred, and I've had that for a while. So the middle of the letters are blurred, but I can kind of see the ones that are out on the extremities of the chart. So I was just telling her what I was experiencing, and she told me to blink a few times, which helped to some extent, but I was like, it's still blurry. So I'm glad I told her exactly what I was experiencing, because obviously she was able to figure out how to help me a little bit. I have no clue what this did. So if you guys have experienced this and you know what the purpose of it is, please tell me, because I'm so curious. But she had me look at the eye chart, but she had one side of it red and one side of it green. It was actually this way, but it doesn't really matter. One side of it was green, one side of it was red. And she asked me which side the letters looked darkest on. And I said, green, 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 and then eventually it was about the same. She was then able to better refract me after that. I have no idea if she was testing for color blindness, which I don't know how. I don't think that's it, because generally a color blindness test is, the dots in a number, and then, anyway, you know what I'm talking about most likely. But I think it may have been a calibration of the eye chart, but she did something and it helped. I was not able to be refracted to 20/20 in my right eye. So my right eye, again, is my transplanted eye. However, I was able to get to a refraction of 20/50. And, well, that's not the prescription, but she told me, I was able to get to 20/20 vision with the refraction on my left eye, and I was able to get to 20/50 vision with my right eye. And which to me isn't terrible, considering that I was legally blind in my right eye for the longest time. So that means that with glasses, I will be 20/20 in my left eye and 20/50 in my right. And that's actually not terrible. But with contacts, I should be able to get to 20/20 in both eyes. And that gets into the next section, which is I will be getting contacts again. And I will describe that in more detail after I get through discussing the appointment. So that was great news. She said that they will have to do the refraction again wherever I get my glasses or contacts, but she wrote me a prescription without signing it, which means like it's not an official prescription, but she just wrote down what, I don't know, what they need to do on the machine to get me where I was when she refracted me. And she asked me if I wanted that, and I said yes, please, because in my opinion, that's going to give the eye doctor that I see for my glasses and contacts a good starting point to get me seeing better. They're going to put in what she wrote down, and then if they need to tweak it, they can, but that at least gives them a good idea, because the eye doctor that saw me is used to working with keratoconus patients, and I think the optometrist that I'm going to see actually has some experience with eye diseases as well. But that's besides the point. It just makes it easier for me, at least, to not have to go through that process as intensely as when that they wouldn't have a starting point for that. After that, they checked the cell count in my right eye, and they checked the thickness, I believe, of my right eye as well. And yeah, it is. That was the thickness. I was just making sure. Because, you know, there are a couple tools that they poke you with. One is to check pressure. One is to check thickness. And they checked both, but they checked my thickness this time. So after that appointment, I'm sorry I'm saying so much. It's just a way to transition to the next thing. After this appointment, I don't have to go back for a year. As long as there are no changes, I'm not experiencing any rejection symptoms, I won't have to go back for another year, which is great news because I am kind of sick of living at the eye doctors. So, oh gosh, I did so again. Anyway, that was my most recent appointment. Now I will discuss my new plans, my progress that I'm making, and some things that I just might follow up on still. So let's get to that. Finally, I'm just going to discuss some of the plans I have going forward and some things that I might update you on in the future. So I was a little bit discouraged with not having my appointment for 5 months instead of 3 months, just because I will be in clinical next semester for my graduate studies, and I will need to get to and from the location. I volunteered this past semester at a location downtown, and it was $80 a week via Uber to get there and back. So it's kind of a necessity that I start driving at this point. The plan here on out is I'm planning to go to the optometrist I saw before getting my transplant to get my lenses. And I am planning on getting scleral lenses again. That was what was recommended to me via the doctor that saw me this past week. I did enjoy scleral lenses. They can be uncomfortable if you've experienced that yourself. After long periods of wearing them in a dusty room, or if you get an air bubble in them, that is especially painful. I do feel like some people might be able to return to wearing either hybrid lenses or soft lenses if their keratoconus wasn't as severe as mine. But as previously stated, I was legally blind in my right eye, and I had a lot of scarring. I think there's still a little bit of astigmatism, so the hard lens is going to help me shape that cornea just a bit. So, as previously mentioned, I might be able to get better than 20/50 vision in my right eye. The next part of this process is being part of driver's ed. I am in driver's ed right now. I am taking an online driver's ed course. I've taken this in the past when I was a teenager in high school. So I'm returning to taking driver's ed online because it's convenient. When I took it in the past, you go through the course and then you have a driver that will come and pick you up and then go drive with you. So I will try and keep you updated with that progress. Right now I'm just doing the written portion of it, and then eventually when I get my contacts, I will start taking the driving lessons as well. I don't believe I actually need to be enrolled in driver's ed at this point, because when I went to get a new copy of my ID, I was asked if I wanted to get a renewal of my permit. But that involved taking the test, and I wasn't prepared for that. Nor was my vision to the proper standards for it. And I just didn't feel comfortable. So now I'm in driver's ed, and I will keep you updated with that. I think those are the two main things. So I will keep you updated with driver's ed, and I will keep you updated with the contacts. What I am planning on doing still is I want to make a post-op tips and tricks, I'm tripping over my own words, a post-op tips and tricks video. I've been meaning to make this for a while. I just haven't had time, to be honest. But that's one video that I want to make, and another one is a secondary Q&A video. So I will probably post another video sometime soon just saying, hey, this is the Q&A. Please ask your questions in the comments below, and then that's where I will take the questions from. And that's it. I am so happy that I am able to be back on YouTube and telling you what I have experienced, and I look forward to making the next videos in the future. Bye.